What's going on, everyone? Austin John Place here, and today we're going to be talking about multiplayer functionality for the Generation 1, 2, and 3 Pokemon games, and how they're going to be working for Nintendo Switch Online. I previously put out a couple days ago a video talking about the almost completely stars lining up realization of what's currently going on for the Nintendo Switch and the possibilities of the first, second, and third generation Pokemon games coming to the system in the immediate future this year. Hopefully announced at the Pokemon Presents that's going to be happening within the next 10 days. Since the release of that video, a friend of mine, Melon Speedruns, who's a game programmer and has talked to me about this quite a bit, and we've been friends for a while, he reached out to me and was like, well, I did some testing, and I just wanted to let you know, Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Fire Red, Leaf Green, all those games, they currently run flawlessly on the Nintendo Switch. And I was like, what are you talking about? They aren't out of the Nintendo Switch. You know, I have wishful thinking that they're going to be released. He explained it to me simply, saying that basically all these images that you see here are just JPEGs or PNG files, and then associated with the name of that is going to be a ROM of exactly the exact same name. And that's it. That's all it's doing. If you were to have access to the internals like on an emulator for the Nintendo Switch on desktop or something else like that, you can actually go in here and just very easily swap the ROM. I mean, like drag and drop and rename and you're good. You're done. Like that's how simple it is. And the local multiplayer and the play online functionality of this just implements perfectly for all Pokemon games. So that was done on a Nintendo Switch emulator for Pokemon Fire Red, and he sent me over some footage of exactly what that looks like, and I want to share that with you guys. Now, we know that the Game Boy Advance emulator on the Nintendo Switch is really, really good. If you've ever actually opened up the app and played it, it's pretty darn phenomenal, as well as the base Game Boy and Game Boy Color emulators. But it's suspicious on how well it runs. So this is going to be Pokemon Fire Red inside of the Game Boy emulator, inside of the Game Boy app, inside of the Nintendo Switch emulator on desktop. And how well it works and how well the multiplayer functionality works before, you know, it's announced or anything else makes it seem like, yeah, this was kind of developed with this ease and functionality set up and ready to go. So first things first, you're going to see that they're launching what's called Curry or whatever. That's just the game that was currently in existence in the Game Boy Advanced emulator that once the ROM was swapped over, it just worked. Because I think it needs to be an emulator that has multiplayer functionality. You're going to see start local multiplayer just started on one. From here, they're starting up an online session where Venusaur is going to be playing with Charizard. Probably not going to go too well for Venusaur, just saying. While rebooting up the game, there's Fire Red on both of them. This is just a game save that they downloaded, I'm pretty sure from like Game FAQs, because they have a whole bunch of game saves in there. And then while in the Viridian City Pokemon Center, just talk to the girl, and then you could go into the back room to trade or battle. Gotta love that classic Gen 1 remade in Gen 3 music, though. So there was like a weird half-second pause there that you heard the music cut out, and that sounds like it was just the Game Boy now looking inside of the app, inside of the Nintendo Switch, inside of the emulator, connecting to the other instance of the emulator, so on and so forth, all the way back down. And communicating, please stand by. This is just what it was like in Fire Red. And there you go. There's the trade screen. Just like that. Now, it really shouldn't be a surprise that this can function so flawlessly, because basically the emulator is just making it so that anything that the game is trying to send back and forth is going to work. It's just so great to see it work already. And then here's Gen 1. Here's Pokemon Red just trading with one another. Same exact protocol, just they just swapped the emulator over and it was good to go. This now raises the question of, so all of this already works flawlessly inside of the Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced apps. Is Nintendo going to release the first and second generation Pokemon games for Nintendo Switch Online, the base level? Or are they going to do something like have an additional app that you have to download and it's launchable just like the N64 Sega Genesis app? And that's going to be the Pokemon Hub. This is a refinement of my thoughts from the last video. This app is going to be locked behind Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack. And inside of there, you're going to be having your Gen 1, 2, and 3 Pokemon games, in addition to what they're probably going to end up calling the Transfer Pack. And the Transfer Pack is going to be the way that Pokemon Stadium inside of the N64 app is going to be able to see the save data of these games and what Pokemon you want to be able to bring over. And how Pokemon Home is going to be able to see the Pokemon from these games and bring them over. Maybe you are going to be able to bring Pokemon from Pokemon Home into the Transfer Pack, because Pokemon Stadium without any sort of Transfer Pack technology, admittedly, is not much of Pokemon Stadium at all. At that point, you're just playing a prettier Gen 1 Smogon. Now, if you're at all suspicious or worrisome about how this is going to work out, let me remind you something. Video game companies are a business, and their job is to make money and make investors happy. Now, let me paint a scenario for you. We don't have actual numbers on how many copies of Pokemon Red, Green, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal actually sold on the 3DS eShop. All that I'm able to find is Virtual Console 3DS games of Gen 1 sold 1.5 million copies, which is a gross of $19 million. And yeah, that's the only information I could possibly find, and that's on vgsales.fandom.com, and I don't see any sources about that. So they made $19 million from selling these 3 individual pieces of software, or 4, I don't know, again, vague website. Let's paint a scenario and let's do some quick maths here for a second, okay? How many Nintendo Switches have been sold as of 2023? 122.55. Let's say 10% of every single Nintendo Switch sold has Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack. 12,255,000. Let's just ignore the different prices for family pack, blah, blah, blah. $50 a year, 10%. Vague numbers, right? I don't know how the financials work on who gets what cut of what games for Nintendo Switch Online. I don't know if it goes by how many people play the game or if there's set contracts on how much they're going to be getting. But since Nintendo is a part owner of the Pokemon Company, let's say that every single person who has Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack, the Pokemon Company gets 5%. Very low number, 1/20th. Okay, so not a big number. So now we're at 1/10 of every Switch sold in the world has the premium service. We're also at the fact that it costs $50 a year for the premium service. Now, if they get 5% of every single one, that means that the Pokemon Company, for releasing Gen 1, 2, and eventually 3 games on the Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack, they will be making $30 million a year for letting people play these games. We're talking about they made $19 million selling the individual games on the 3DS over the last 7 years, versus now making $30 million every year, which can fluctuate. I don't know the numbers, but this is just an example. So if you ask yourself, why wouldn't they do this? There's no reason. They're printing money. They're literally printing money. They own the intellectual property. There's no copyright clearance. There's no issues. They own this outright. This is a free $30 million a year coming to the Pokemon Company if this is behind the premium subscription. Now, if it's not behind the premium subscription and it just goes by the $20 a year, guess what? They're still making $12.25 million a year. So in 2 years, they'll make more than they did for 7 years of selling the individual software. Pokemon is going to be coming to the Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced emulators. Hopefully has functionality with Pokemon Stadium, hopefully has functionality with Pokemon Home. The money is there. And hopefully it's on the base one. But there is a chance they are going to lock it behind the premium one. We're gonna have to wait and see. It's also a question of, would they give every single person access to Red and Blue? Or if it was inside of the Pokemon app that I'm talking about that could exist, when you first boot up the game, you get your choice if you want to play Red or Blue, and then you're locked to it forever. I like that. I like that a lot. Or locked to it per profile, maybe? Because at that point, then there would be a reason to use the trade functionality. That would be fun. It wouldn't be necessary, but it'd be fun. Okay, I want to know what you guys think about this now that it's coming together more, now that I've explained the money, because when you follow the money, that's the path that's going to be taken, right? There's no reason for them to not do this. It's coming. I think it's coming. I want to know your thoughts. Leave them down below. Thank you so much for being here. The Pokemon Direct is coming. Until next time, Austin John out.
Man, they see me shining like I got the charm. Stay strapped, got that jet ball in my palm. Fell from the sky, guess I'm the chosen one. And if you need to know how, check out Austin John. Champion flow, yeah. I got that champion flow.